am 48 and a half, and I am playing too much basketball still. So a couple weeks ago, I played basketball, and I definitely did something to my back and my neck, and so I had a scheduled chiropractor appointment this morning. But to top that, I decided to play basketball this morning at 7 a.m. with my son and some of the guys from the office. And as some of you might have just seen, because I just posted it on social media, I took a very substantial elbow directly to the eye and had stitches this morning. And after when I was with my chiropractor, he was doing this thing and it was clearly not pleasant. And he made a comment that my pain tolerance was extremely high. And I said, yeah, I get that from my mom. And we laughed and we talked about pain tolerance. And mainly the reason I said from my mom, because my dad's sitting here too, and I get it from my dad too. Both my parents, are immigrants who spent the first 20 years of their life in the Soviet Union. That is called, you were born into pain tolerance. And we're a family that really back to balance, we probably went too far on the inability to complain. Even mentioning anything would be no way, you can't do that. And he was talking about pain tolerance, and he's been studying it, and he thinks there's a direct correlation to pain tolerance and how you grew up. And I thought it was interesting, and it really made sense to me. I believe the biggest thing you can teach your children is to not fear failure. I think that failure is the greatest teammate of a human being. And I think over the last 30 years, modern parenting has done a very bad job, subjectively, one man's point of view, on over-indexing, on trying to over-coddle every aspect of everything. It's actually so fun to see Senora Kennedy sitting here, my favorite teacher of all time, because where I was about to go with my sentence is, I also find it fascinating what's happened with teachers. Literally 30 years ago, if a teacher gave you a bad grade, parents would go and say, I'm sorry to teachers. Now, when kids get bad grades, parents are going to fight teachers to tell them to give them a better grade. We have completely lost our way. I think, again, seeing a lot of faces that I know my stuff, I think 8th place trophies is the craziest shit of all time. I think that it has created so much damage. The concept that you're gonna celebrate everybody the same is not natural. That's what took down communism. It's not a true thing. It doesn't work. It's not real life. And so I think the number one thing you can teach a child is resilience, emotional resilience, because life is hard. And so I think that over-coddling, over-protecting, and using fear as a weapon is a huge vulnerability. And I think that in general, it makes people susceptible to what I see happen in society. I see it in the workplace all the time. So many of you are gonna be able to really nod your heads on this. I believe that most bosses use fear as a motivator. If we don't hit these numbers, if we don't, I think almost every parent is predominantly selling fear to get kids to do what they want. And I actually think it's a very, very, very dangerous framework. I got very fortunate. I grew up in an era where kids played outside a lot. And I loved sports. So my life was predominantly losing. You're losing. I mean, again, as with my mom sitting here, if you go ask her, most of my first 10 years of my life was around me crying. I was constantly crying because anytime I lost, I cried. I view that as a remarkable indicator of who I became. I cared. Telling kids it doesn't matter if you win or lose is delusional. The only thing that matters if you win and lose. What you win at and lose is the important conversation. You get to define what success is. I think one of the other major societal issues is we have become so one-dimensional in defining success as a monetary win. It's too bad. We've lost our way on public service, on general happiness. We need a redefinition of success. Look, I'm an entrepreneur and I'm good at making money and being a businessman, but I'm also very fortunate at this point in my life that I've spent a lot of time with a lot of people who've made a lot of money, and I know unlimited miserable millionaires. I know unlimited miserable billionaires. Who wants to be unhappy? Who wants to be anxious at night? Who wants to use drugs or alcohol to be able to go to sleep because you're worried. The dollar amount in your bank account has no indication to your peace of mind. But we've grown a whole generation of individuals to fear losing. And we've got to tweak that, and to me, that's the big one. So yeah, I think losing is good. I think losing is, I think it's remarkable. Mm-hmm. I prefer to lose, that's why I'm a Jets and Knicks fan. I mean it.
I'm a Mets fan.
By the way, I mean this. I grew up a Yankees and Rangers fan, and back to having Senora Kennedy here in high school and Brandon in the back, who I went to high school with, I will tell you that the people that remember, I was a bigger New York Rangers fan than maybe even a Jets fan in high school, but once they won the Stanley Cup in '94, and once the Yankees won in '96, I was out. And I actually never understood it. Nobody did. Everybody used to make fun of me or be confused. It's not a common trait to just quit on your team once they win a championship. Usually you stick around and enjoy it. But in hindsight, now that I'm older and understand it, I think that's how much I enjoy